All right, now, everybody. Quiet, listen to me. We're going to start a show. Now, some of you people have been with me before. You know it's going to be a tough grind, but we're going to have a show.
Oh, thank you all. Thank you. I know. Well, I mean, if you must, please. Yes. It's as though there's an applause button and someone just keeps hitting it. It's just that overwhelming. I know. Oh, my God. Please, guys, come on. Come on. Come on. A couple of days away, and you can imagine my recorded audience desperate for a little FaceTime. Great to have everybody here. We are a live show from 2 to 4 in the East. We love the East. I love my East. And we are 11 to 1 in the West. I'll concede we don't start right at the top of the hour all the time. One of the things I like about Mo Kelly is he starts on time. You're damn straight. I love that. That had to be a shock to Kim. Kim is so used to me kind of going, you know, we're chasing down something at the last minute. Mo Kelly starts on effing time, baby. That's right. And thanks to Mo for last minute filling in as we had an emergency here in Mark Thompson land. Mm-hmm. What a show today. Oh, I can feel it, baby. My Albert is back. The commissioner of sports and all things holy is on the show, running things, grabbing video. Very good job yesterday. I caught a little bit of the show. No Albert and no Tony. So it was only Kim and then no me.
Yeah. You
just had Mo Kelly. Now, that's probably a good break for Kim because I'm like, you can't get the video, you know, and he doesn't have any of that. You know what I mean? He's just grateful and nice.
Yeah,
I'm like, Kim.
Gentle. He was very gentle.
Exactly. That's, you know, I'm like, dude, can we not at least know how to hit the applause button around here? What's going on?
All right, I know.
That was my favorite part of the show yesterday, Albert. Mo said, let's hear it for John Rothman. And there's nothing, which is fine. I mean, you know, whatever. And then like 15 seconds goes by. They're now beginning to talk. And then you hear, and then you hear it over and over again. Like it plays like 4 times because Kim had it on a loop.
I had to go back and get it off the loop. Yeah, I know.
Yeah. So the thing is when when you hit it, there is it defaults to a loop thing, and if you don't know that or you forget that, then it just loops. So it shows up 15 seconds late. They're now already into the conversation, and it just loops for like 30 seconds. It was very funny.
The recorded audience was really excited. Okay.
Yeah.
They weren't done.
Yeah, that's it. Hey, speaking of intros, I've got a great introduction to share with you that no one else anywhere is talking about. And it is Trump, and I know you love to talk about Trump. There's never been anything like it.
Menafin.
Yes, and there's also MBS, who is Trump's best friend, as you know, funds a lot of the Trump projects in the Middle East and beyond that, is clearly involved in unholy relationship, I'd suggest, with the Trump family. Unholy in the sense that it is a clear conflict of interest, the President of the United States and his family's company doing massive business with the Saudis. And Jared Kushner's entire existence is this fund that he set up, completely funded by the Saudis. So, I mean, the Saudi money is getting spread around a lot. But there's anyway, an intro that I'm going to share with you just because I'm thinking of it. One thing I also haven't heard many people say or talk about, maybe it's been talked about. I mean, I can't see everything or watch everything or hear everything. I know this because you guys send me stuff and I go, oh my God, I didn't see this or whatever. But it's very much the case that the Saudis, I know we think of them as sort of limitless wealth. And indeed, probably by a lot of yardsticks, it is limitless wealth. But it not literally is limitless wealth. I mean, it is not literally without end. And so I make the point to you that when Donald Trump, now again, you have to take a little bit with a grain of salt stuff what he says. They're going to donate they're going to do $1 trillion worth of investment in this country. $1 trillion for the Saudis would pretty much take them out of the game. I mean, that's the end of the line. That's like all the money they have. And now, again, they're an oil-rich nation, and you're thinking, what are you talking about? They buy the golf, they buy tennis, they buy, they're buying everything. They're going to buy a movie studio. You've heard about this. The Saudis now are going to be part owners, maybe in Warner Brothers. I mean, it's insane. But insane from the standpoint of just all of this, Middle East cash flooding in to buy up everything from media to weaponry. But my point in mentioning all of this is they don't have limitless money, and they are heavily spending. And just like Michael Jackson, the king of pop, used to go in and they'd close those stores and he'd just buy stuff. And you thought, well, he's the king of pop. He's got all those hits. He's got all that music. Even Michael Jackson started to run out of money. And the Saudis are the Michael Jacksons of the investment world, in that everything looks great now, and they're going to get a lot, and the Trumps are going to make out, like literal bandits that they are. But even the Saudis are going to be stressed a little bit. Again, this might just be a small, footnote to everything going on, but it's just interesting as I watch them with this tidal wave of money that's coming into this country. They will run out. It's not limitless. So, David Katz joins us in hour 2. And the Comey prosecution seems to be falling apart. I mean, it's funny. When you fire all of the competent lawyers at the Justice Department who wouldn't bring a BS suit against the ex-FBI director, and you hire some insurance lawyer who's never prosecuted a case before, and you throw them into the lead role at the Justice Department for this case, it's just funny how stuff wasn't done correctly. In fact, it was done illegally, and now that's being pointed to, and there was a watershed moment in today's case, and David Katz, the former federal prosecutor, will be here, chapter and verse on that and other legal things in the second hour. Do we have any other guests today?
That's it.
I don't think that's it. Right.
It's
Good.
all you, Mark
Because we've
Thompson,
got a lot to get to.
Yeah.
So I also want to, before I get any further, I want to invite you, all of you, and we haven't done enough of these, and I'm really sorry. We've had one of those years. It's been a crap year for a lot of us, as you know, and just in addition to crap, just busy, and the organizational muscle that it takes to organize some of these things just wasn't there. But with that lengthy preamble, let me just say we've got it. It is our, Albert, do you have the artwork? Yes, it is our first annual Holiday Hoedown Throwdown. Yeah.
Yeehaw.
If you haven't jumped on it yet, you should. There are already some, I'd call them meetup regulars. I'd call them hoedown regulars. They are going to be rejoining for this Holiday Hoedown Throwdown. This is going to be, I think, the first graphic, Albert, if you can go, actually has the date of things, which is
December 1st.
December 1st, right.
Mm-hmm.
Albert is new to there were 2 things sent to you. There was that you just had.
There will be dancing, right?
December 1st there will be dancing, there will be dining, and there will be cocktails served. All of those things have to happen in your home, wherever you are, because it's a virtual meetup. But it is the virtual Holiday Hoedown Showdown, and it will be December 1st at 6 p.m. Pacific time. That's 9 p.m. for our friends in the East. This is the jankiest graphic ever. It'll be better tomorrow. But Holiday Hoedown Throwdown, the graphic looks good. It's just our presentation, which is a little bit janky. But again, December 1st, 6 p.m. Now, it is a 2-hour hoedown. So that's a lot of hoeing that you can do in 2 hours. And I'm counting on a lively conversation with special guests. If you haven't yet, please join our Holiday Hoedown Throwdown. Here's how you do it. And now, page 2, please, Albert. You will donate $50 to the show. You'll go to PayPal to do that. There are PayPal links under this video and all of our other videos. And then you can, when you donate the $50 to PayPal, it's a fundraiser for the show. We don't raise a lot of money, but a little something for the show. Note HH or Hoedown or Holiday Hoedown, whatever you want to say. And then send us an email to say we did it. I did it. I'm part of the Holiday Hoedown Throwdown. And you send that to a special email address. It is mtsmeetup@gmail.com. mtsmeetup@gmail.com. 2 hours of hoeing down on December 1st. We want you to be part of it. Don't waste any time. Grab a spot. $50 donation via PayPal. Note HH or Holiday Hoedown, and then send an email to confirm it. mtsmeetup@gmail.com, and see you on December 1st, 6 p. on the West Coast. Yeah, looking forward to it. All right.
The Mark Thompson Show.
One of the things that I most enjoyed before I get into the deep, unmitigated corruption associated with the alliance between the Saudis and the Trump family, and apparently the U.S. as represented by the Trump family, one of my favorite moments came just yesterday. It was Trump speaking before, I think it was just yesterday. They all run together. He's doing a lot of speaking. He was speaking before the, it's a Saudi investment conference, I believe. Was that what it was? Anyway,
Yeah, with the captains of industry all present.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And they do this thing where they bring Trump, and, you know, your Trump likes the show. He likes a big presentation, and there's nothing wrong with that. You know, I like production elements too, so I'm not dumping on him for that. But this was a little much, man. So, Albert, play them if you will. This is how Trump and MBS, his new best friend, I shouldn't say that is a new best friend. I mean, I think he's been best friend for a few years now. Mm-hmm. How they came on to this Saudi investment conference with the big the female announcer. Go ahead.
Entrance of the 45th and 47th President of the United States of America.
By the way, Albert, stop. I'm sorry. I'm going to do a little bit of this, but I mean, I love that he's got to say the 45th and 47th president. I mean, why? It actually takes something away from the intro. Why not just say, ladies and gentlemen,
the president.
Please welcome the President of the United States. And, I mean, it's pretty powerful.
Right.
It's about the best intro and title you can have. And somehow you got to throw 45th and 47th. Yeah. And the 47th I would have been 46, but they stole the election. I mean, you couldn't work that into the intro. It would have been 45. He would have been 45, 46, but the election was stolen by evil, sleepy Joe Biden, whose corrupt son is still on the loose. Anyway, it's just 45 and 40. It makes the intro more cumbersome. I'm sorry. This is the kind of stuff I worry about because I've done a crap load of these intros as a VO guy at award shows. Like, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome. And then you have some, long title, and it takes away from. In this case, it really takes away. Anyway, go ahead, Albert. I won't interrupt again. Here we go.
The entrance of the 45th and 47th President of the United States of America, President Donald J. Trump.
And His Royal Highness, Prince Mohammed ibn Salman ibn Abdulaziz Al Saud, Crown Prince and Prime Minister of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia.
What?
Okay,
we have to hear it one more time.
We're going to get to the music in a second. The music's about as over the top and crazy as you can imagine. But she booted that announce. Now, look, it can happen. Okay, it's a live thing. You're nervous, but dude, I promise you that's not his name. Okay, play that again for me, Albert.
Prince
You
Mohammed
got the
ibn
Mohammed
Salman
bin
ibn
part right. Then it goes blah 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 blah. Go ahead.
J. Trump.
And His Royal Highness, Prince Mohammed ibn Salman ibn Abdulaziz Al Saud, Crown Prince and Prime Minister of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia.
Yeah. Now here's the music.
The Thompson Show. Oh my God. Wow.
Pretty over the top. I'd say that
it really
is a little much.
it really sounds like the West Wing theme song to me.
It
I don't
does
know
have
what.
a West Wingish feel. You're absolutely
Yeah.
right. What is the guy's actual name? It's Mohammed bin Salam is the way we know him, but he
So
does have
he
a
has a
longer
couple
name,
names.
but I promise you it's not what she said.
Here's what
Prince
she tried to
Mohammed
say.
bin Salam bin Abdulaziz Al Saud. Yeah.
That doesn't seem that complicated. It's not as complicated as the real name, which is
Mohammed bin Abdul Aziz bin Abdul Rahman bin Faisal bin Turkey bin Abdullah bin Mohammed bin Saud bin Mohammed bin Magur. The reason that's all
Sure.
bin
the
is
father
son
and
of,
father.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So it's just that's the way they do it over there. Mohammed, son of Abdul, or the son of this, son of that.
But that's what she tried to say.
Prince Mohammed bin Salman bin Abdulaziz Al Saud. Play it one last time, her introduction, if you would, Albert. And the one thing she did, which was smart, is she sold it. Like she leaned into it, but it was so bad. She booted it so poorly that it was a...
Prince Mohammed ibn Salman ibn Abdulaziz Al Saud.
Yeah, that's right. It was a little bit, I'm just saying it was a little bit
Prince
not...
Mohammed ibn Salman ibn Abdulaziz Al Saud.
Okay, yeah. Please.
Maybe they forgot the spaces. They forgot the spaces in the little note that she was reading off.
Prince Mohammed ibn Salman ibn Abdulaziz Al Saud.
Oh,
But her confidence never wavered. You're right.
No, it really did. She sold it. She sold it, but it was so clearly a boot that, I just wonder how that was. Hey, heard you on the Saudi investment thing. Good gig, huh? Yeah, I mean,
Prince
it was.
Mohammed
it
ibn
was a
Salman
little,
ibn Abdulaziz Al Saud.
a little bit janky on the, Okay. Anyway, but then they actually did the conference. And by the way, if you're just joining us, we'll get to Epstein, we'll get to everything. But right now, I'm on the unholy alliance between the Saudis and the Americans, at least in the form of the Trump family. So Donald Trump addressed them, and let's hear a little bit of what he said, Albert, if you would, please.
March egg prices are down 86%. Think of 86%. Many other prices are down in a similar number. When I first came into office, my first 3 days, I had a news conference, and they started screaming at me. Those people, that's a lot of people back there. Look at all the fake news. They started screaming at me, eggs, eggs. I didn't know anything about it. I said, what's going on with eggs? They're up quadruple. I said, I've only been here for 3 days. And we'll work on it. And we got them down very substantially. They said, don't buy eggs for Easter. At the White House, we have an Easter egg hunt. We buy thousands of eggs. People come from all over, thousands. They asked me, sir, would it be possible this year to buy plastic eggs? I said, I'm not buying plastic eggs. The kids are going to pick up an egg. They're going to, what the hell kind of an egg is this? And we bought maximum number of regular eggs, and we got the prices. Brooke Rollins did a great job, Department of Agriculture. She did a fantastic job. And eggs are way down now. Mortgage rates are down despite the Fed. I mean, Scott, you got to work on this guy. He's got some real mental problems. No, there's something wrong with him. It's just sweet.
If Biden had blithered on like that, you'd never hear the end of it. I mean, that was crazy. I did not really even follow. I get it. He's sort of always campaigning, but that was wild. I mean, the underpinning deals. Now, I'm leaving out Trump and the substantial investment that the Trump family is getting from the Saudis, only some of which we're aware of, I suspect, right?
I wonder if it will be the Bin Salman Al Saud ballroom.
I mean, it could be. It could be. I mean, the ballroom is absolute grift on parade. There's no question about it. The ballroom and the investments, it's all done with private investors, no taxpayer money. And isn't that the problem? That it's all done with monies that are donated in return for other things. It's another aspect of America that is awash in money already politically, and now you take a presidency which is completely for sale. He's been open for business since before he was even president, and we called it out, and we weren't the only ones. I mean, it's not a particularly difficult puzzle to put together. The guy is all grift, all corruption. There is nothing in this Saudi deal that doesn't relate back to self-enrichment when it comes to Trump and the Trump family. I mean, the Saudis have been trying to get weapons from the Americans for, years, and they have gotten some weapons from the Americans. They've even gotten training from the Americans, but all of this is carefully reviewed. I mean, it's a big deal. During the Biden administration, there was MBS pounding on Biden to get these deals. But all of this stuff is generally reviewed, right? So, and that's the way it would be for any country looking to get the kind of weaponry and the amount of weaponry that the Saudis petitioned for. But, Saudi leader MBS walks into the Oval Office and boom, he makes the deal. I mean, even that whole exchange with a question about Khashoggi, who was killed and then carved up and ground up in the Turkish embassy, was it? I mean, that question was handled by Trump, asked to MBS, and then Trump interdicted, right? I mean, he stood between them. He jumped in like a Secret Service agent protecting a dignitary from an incoming weapon. I mean, it was really something. So, and then MBS, I thought, MBS can speak English well. He was educated, I think, in London or with, he's, and MBS, and this is the problem with the Middle East, right? And a lot of these dictatorships, does have things to brag about, right? Like, he's the one who instituted women being able to drive. He's the one who has tried to bring Saudi Arabia away from just oil and into the world of technology and into, as you know, the world of artificial intelligence, because that's where all this money is going. I mean, he wants to get the kingdom away from just being a gas station and into being a real participant on the world stage. And he's done it with huge amounts of oil money. And he's also done it smartly by the acquisition of these leagues. You know more about it than I do, Albert. He acquired that golf league. What else has he done? He also acquired a piece of soccer. Is that what the Saudis are involved in too?
Yeah, I think Cristiano Ronaldo got bought out from his normal contract. He played for a Saudi league, which isn't one of the most prestigious leagues at all. And yes, they do have that Live Golf League. They bought like half of the PGA Tour, I feel like. So they just create their own thing. They want something, they get their own. So
yeah, I mean, it's a way in which he has lifted his kingdom to another place. But obviously, his brutality as a leader is on display and was when he carved up that journalist. And American intelligence, as was noted in the question, has clearly pointed to MBS as ordering that hit. But MBS, kind of pushed Trump out of the way and said, let me take the question, and I thought actually, under the circumstances, handled it well when he said it was wrong. But I mean, it was wrong, dude. You ordered the hit. We know you don't think it was wrong because but that's what was said publicly. So, Randy's saying that he was educated MBS at King Saud University in Saudi Arabia. That may be. I thought he had some of his education in London, but I might be mistaken.
I found him hard to understand, and his sentence structure it was nonsensical, like he was kind of rambling.
Mm-hmm.
It was hard for me to follow what he was saying as he, tried to say that, he was very sorry that Khashoggi passed away.
It's noted in reporting, and I think important when you look at this deal with the Saudis, that Trump basically gave away the store. Yet another deal where he claims some big deal for America, and Trump really gave it away. There was a condition that was always insisted upon by the Biden administration, for example, where these same conversations, many of them went on. And that is the full normalization of relationships with Israel. So when the Biden administration wanted to get that concession from the Saudis, they got a bilateral defense and a trade agreement. They got an Israeli commitment to a Palestinian state. They were seeking these things, the Biden administration. And the Saudis wouldn't recognize Israel, normalize relations. And by the way, to be fair, the Israelis wouldn't commit to a pathway to a Palestinian state, I think, in this deal as they tried to shape it with the Saudis. So what the Trump administration has done is just given them all this defense weaponry, right? And what was it? F-35 jets. It's the F-35 jets that are pretty similar to the ones that the Israelis fly. And there is no expectation or real coupling of any American expectation or commitment in the Middle East beyond sort of just kind of a loose agreement about money, right? I mean, they're going to sell advanced chips to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. They signed a critical minerals agreement. They've opened the door to expanding cooperation on nuclear energy, I should say, not nukes that weaponry. But it's, and perhaps the thing that really stunned me, and it's in that address where he announces that they're going to have a non-NATO alliance with the Saudis, the Americans, so that you don't have quite you have a de facto pledge to defend the Saudis as you would a NATO nation. So it's I think it's a pretty big win for the Saudis. I mean, the only thing they maybe didn't get was a commitment on nuclear weaponry, the development and enrichment of uranium for the Saudis. That would be yet another thing that they would seek. But in every other way, as I think as anyone looks at it, it's a huge win for the Saudis. And I don't know what the Americans get. Again, you get this promise of investment, and AI investment is part of it, the $1 trillion commitment. We'll talk about that in the days to come. But I guess what I see is the way in which the Trump family enriches themselves with deals in Saudi Arabia. There'll be a Trump Tower, I think, in Riyadh. You can tell me, Kim, maybe what I was seeing was that there's a Trump Tower that will be built there in a major Saudi location. And you have the Trump Resort, which is going to, there's already one plan for Qatar. That was part of the Qatari deal. And now in Saudi Arabia. Not to mention all of the other sort of attendant deals that are associated with this Saudi-American alliance. And as I mentioned when we started this conversation, the amount of money that's flowing into Trump coffers, either through crypto or in the case of Jared Kushner, there's a lot of money flowing into his investment fund. All of these things are the sorts of things that Republicans, for example, would scream about. I mean, they made Hunter Biden's participation on the board of Burisma a jihad. That's all you heard about. Meantime, the Trump family, they won't make a deal unless there's something in it to whet their beak. That's all they're about. It is truly a rot of corruption at the highest levels. It's grotesque.
A year ago, the Trump organization did put out a press release that they planned a second Saudi Arabian tower in a regional expansion. So they're building a tower in Riyadh, but they also have a Trump golf community similar to the one they launched in Oman. So they have a golf community. They're going to build a tower. Yeah, it'll be interesting. Very similar, they say, to the Trump Tower in Jeddah and the Trump golf community in Oman, which cost about $2.6 billion. So
thank you. And that will remind everyone that the first trip that the Trump family took when they were in power the first time was to Saudi Arabia. Remember them all over that white glowing ball? That was the big photo op that was disseminated at the beginning of that trip. So the relationship is, I'd suggest it's unholy because you've tied a bunch of real American foreign policy and engagement to a bunch of real estate deals and payoffs. And that's really what America, which was always for sale on some level, is now all about on a level that we'd never seen before. We got a conflict. Yeah, there's a huge conflict of interest, of course. There is I want to make sure I get, on the theme music, Zero Sum says Trump walks around with theme music.
Someone else said it was the theme music to Air Force One, as someone said.
Oh, is that? I wonder if that's right.
I don't know
if that's right. Play us that theme music if you can find it again, Albert, while I look at this. On the announcer line, which was blown
Prince Mohammed ibn Salman ibn Abdulaziz Al Saud.
Aziz, close enough for government work, says John Watson.
Prince Mohammed ibn Salman ibn Abdulaziz Al Saud.
Yeah.
What was the end of that cartoon? Yep, that's all, folks.
I mean, that really was. I mean, I don't know what the additional, what was it? You have it still, the shorter version? It's not a hard name.
Oh. No,
it's really not. No. It was Mohammed bin, I don't know what, I can't do it from memory. Oh, here it is. Prince Mohammed bin Salam bin Abdulaziz Al Saud. Al Saud, or say Al Saud, however you want to say it.
Even if
Prince Mohammed bin Salman bin Abdulaziz Al Saud. And here is the music that was playing.
Prince Mohammed ibn Salman ibn Abdulaziz Al Saud, Crown Prince and Prime Minister of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia.
No smoke? No pyro? Shouldn't they rise up out? They could be on risers and rise up out of the bottom of the stage with that kind of music, don't you think?
They forgot the spotlight.
Yeah, exactly.
It's kind of dark. Oh, here they go. Okay.
What happened to my lighting?
Your Royal Highness, we now invite you to deliver your remarks. The floor is yours. Sumu Sayyidi al-Kalima lak.
Yeah, Your Royal Highness, go for it.
حضور الكرام يسعدنا أن نلتقي بكم اليوم في واشنطن بعد 6 أشهر من انعقاد منتدى الاستثمار السعودي الأمريكي في الرياض الذي انعقد خلال زيارتكم فخامة الرئيس حيث وضعنا الأسس لشراكة تقوم على النمو والتنويع الاقتصادي والابتكار كما وقعنا وثيقة الشراكة الاقتصادية الاستراتيجية بين بلدينا.
It's a Saudi world, baby. I'm ready. They become sponsors on the Mark Thompson show. I will be. Yeah, you're going to see me do an about face like you've never seen it before.
Saudi Arabia pays cash.
Yeah, Saudi Arabia pays cash.
Saudi Arabia pays cash.
Exactly. Thank you. Quick shout out to Daryl Leffler, who makes a shout out to Ron Owens. He's going through some tough times, says Daryl, with health and family urgencies. Because of him, I listen to you. Ron was the best and so happy that you have taken the torch. Ron could use a little help, says Daryl Leffler with a $20 super chat. Thank you so much for that, Daryl.
Big shout out.
That's a big shout out to Daryl. And yeah, I just spoke to Ronnie a couple of weeks ago, I guess it was. And I just spoke of Ron Owens yesterday. I was talking to David K. Johnston, believe it or not. And we talked about Ron Owens. And Ron was a brilliant broadcaster, mind, a wonderful sense of humor. He's, everything great. And I note this and have noted it before. And I mentioned this to David K. Johnston yesterday. Ron Owens on KGO Radio was the only talk show host in America who beat Rush Limbaugh every single rating book, even at the height of Rush Limbaugh's power as a media personality. Ron beat him every single rating book. He didn't win one book, Rush Limbaugh. And that was the power and that was the brilliance of Ron Owens. And he's still kicking. He's fine, but he's not on the radio anymore. Mm-hmm. But he's still every bit as brilliant and funny, and just that he's not on KGO anymore. But thank you, Daryl, and I'm glad you recognize how wonderful Ron is, and I'll tell him that we spoke of him. First a piggy reference, now a porky reference, says the last angry Manny. He's really feeling it, Donald Trump, but it's kind of an awkward moment for him potentially because of because of the Epstein Files. So, yeah.
The Mark Thompson Show.
The Epstein Files, Kim. The kids wanted the Epstein Files so much that Donald Trump couldn't hold back the waters any longer. The dam broke, and he got out in front of it. Great, let's release him. I haven't done anything. There's 30 days the DOJ has to turn over the Epstein documents, according to this bill. There are some exceptions provided in the bill. There'll be redactions of victims' identifying information or personal files, any depictions of child sexual abuse, releases that would jeopardize active investigations or prosecutions, and depictions, of course, of death or abuse. Now, it's that last bit that we have indicated here in prior conversations is the get-out-of-jail-free card, perhaps, for this president. There are two ways, at minimum, that Donald Trump, who has loaded the government, the DOJ, completely filled with his own loyalists, and loaded the FBI with his own loyalists, there are two ways, minimal, that he has available to him to skate a bit on the Epstein Files. Now, before I tell you the two ways, I have to be clear that there's obviously damning information on Trump and the Epstein Files already, right? We know that. We know he was with these women. He was with these underage women. It would suggest, again, there's been no demonstrable allegation. I mean, the allegations are demonstrable, but there's been no demonstrable evidence, I might want to say, that, he was involved in some kind of sexual relationship with these girls. But even that, as I say it, isn't necessarily certain. There is testimony, victim testimony, that would suggest maybe that's not true. So the bill calls for the Attorney General to make, and then I'll get to you the two ways. The bill calls for the Attorney General to make unclassified the Epstein-related documents publicly available in a searchable and downloadable format, including all investigations into Epstein, his associate Ghislaine Maxwell. I'm reading from the bill. Flight logs and travel records, individuals referenced or named in connection with his crimes, entities that were tied to his trafficking or financial networks, immunity deals and other plea agreements, internal communications about charging decisions, documentation of his detention and death, and details about any file deletions. I mean, on its face, it's a pretty big ask, and it's pretty amazing if you can really get all that. Now, it's the last part that is the first way in which Trump, and we've commented on this before, but I just want to underscore it again, and I'm sure we'll mention it with David Katz, that Donald Trump could shield himself from some of what is going on. The last part says there are exceptions to this release of information to which I've just referred, and those exceptions are associated with anything that would jeopardize active investigations or prosecutions. So the minute the Justice Department, as they now have, And again, we were way out in front of this. Remember, Kim, we talked about this. I said, this is the way they protect it. If there's an investigation ongoing, they go, gosh, we'd like to release this, but it's part of an investigation now and a potential prosecution, and we can't. You can understand why. And that's exactly what they did. You'll remember, Pam Bondi said, there's no there. Pam Bondi said, this investigation is done. There is nothing incriminating in all of these materials except to Jeffrey Epstein, who is dead now. So there's no need to pursue this further. I mean, she's been all over the map, but that's the landing that she felt she'd stuck.
Didn't she actually say there are no Epstein files?
Yeah, she's been, this is part of where she's been.
Wait, what?
First she said, there are no Epstein files. First she said the Epstein files are on my desk. I'm going to review them, right? Then she said there are no Epstein files, really. It's just a bunch of information, and it looks like it's all just related to Jeffrey Epstein. It's vile, it's awful, but it's all Jeffrey Epstein. Then she said everything in the Epstein file I actually have released. It's in those white binders that all of you influencers that we've invited to the White House are now waving. And then, of course, it was essentially, that was almost like a prank. There was so little in that. And then she said, she followed the president's following of the political tide and said the Epstein file now is being reopened for new prosecutions. And she hinted, this is in, we'll pull Bondi's sound for you. She hinted that there is a new investigation underway. So, I mean, she said that, but I guess she hinted at maybe a potential prosecution. But she said there is an investigation underway. So the minute she said that, that's what you need. She's flipped the switch to shield the president because there's a bunch of stuff that can now not be released because it's part of an investigation and a review of Epstein and potential charges. So that's the first way that's available to Donald Trump, the way that's associated with an ongoing DOJ investigation that can protect Trump. The second way is that he has filled the FBI with all of these functionaries, all of these loyalists, the same at DOJ. They're part, FBI part of DOJ. And we know that at least 1,000 agents have worked around the clock, as it was said, literally, they said, 1,000 agents are working in 24 hours a day to go over these files, and they are looking for references to Trump and Trump connections. And they're not looking for them to expose them. They're looking for them to delete or dry clean those records of those references, straight up. So Trump has a robust army of agents and lawyers to protect him from anything in those files that could be damning. He also has the technical law that would give you legal high ground not to release material that's associated with the president. Now, here's the problem for Donald Trump. The problem is that there is so much out there already through the estate, through victim testimonies, through the book written by one of the victims. There are more books to come. These women are still out there, and they speak credibly about Donald Trump in relation to Jeffrey Epstein. And so truly navigating this from a reputational standpoint, if you want to say a political standpoint, but I just mean a human standpoint, it might get much, much harder for Donald Trump in the days ahead. So you can have your Pam Bondi and you can have your Kash Patel. They will do whatever you want. They are such trained chimps. It's gross. You can have your MAGA Mike Johnson, who will protect, not even bring the legislation to the floor. And then all of a sudden he wants to bring the legislation to the floor. Why? Because the president's told him he wants that. MAGA Mike Johnson will jump and do whatever the puppeteer wants. But what's out there in the public sphere, the information that's there now as a result of what we're learning from the estate, the emails that were sent, the exchanges between Epstein and Trump, between Epstein and his brother, between Epstein and Michael Wolf, is it?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that stuff is really damning. And there is plenty more where that came from. And I don't know how Trump navigates all that. I mean, he called him a pervert, said he used to be at my club, a member of my club, and I threw him out because he was a pervert. That's a quote. Well, he was your best friend, dude, for like a decade. I mean, really, they were best pals, the birthday card, they hung out, they did the parties. We have victim testimony about the fact that they used to have these model parties there. Remember these model parties in New York where they'd have these women, most of them, I say women, these are girls from, I think the sweet spot for modeling is like 14 to 22 maybe. And they'd go to these sort of mini pageants or modeling auditions, and it would literally just be Jeffrey Epstein and Donald Trump there. And it was understood by many of these models who worked at, some of these agencies like Elite Modeling or whatever they are, that you kind of had to go there. And you weren't compelled to do anything with these guys, but you were compelled to show up to this, pageant/audition. Otherwise, it would affect your ability maybe to get work in the future. I mean, you're being asked to go by the boss, by the casting directors at these modeling agencies. So you can see how this all washes together in a pretty ugly mess. And the legal arm of it is just one part of it. So in conclusion for this, and we'll talk about it more on the legal side with David Katz, I would say the release of the Epstein Files may be the righteous call that Donald Trump has at the moment, seeing that the mob wants that anyway. Yeah, release it. I've done nothing wrong. Yeah, I want it released also. But the reality is that the righteousness that you get during that news cycle, that's going to evaporate very, very quickly as the details associated with this are released. Now, the only other thing I would say is what's going to totally cloud things is there were a ton of very powerful people involved here. So if we're really talking about who was on his plane, now, first of all, being on his plane doesn't mean anything. I mean, being on his plane is not, that has nothing to do with the sexual deviance that's associated with Epstein. I mean, the guy was a rich guy. He was a star effer. He was trying to get guys, I'm flying people all over the place. He's brokering deals. He was big in with Israel, with Russia, they're all kind of with the American Wall Street shakers and movers. All of that was going on. I have no doubt that manifest of passengers is lengthy, and it doesn't necessarily damn them. I think far more damning is the more specific information that comes from victim reports that we're now going to see more and more of, and as I say, the leaks from the estate, and then the other bits of information. But you can tag Bill Clinton, but Bill Clinton ain't the end of the line. There are a lot of people involved here. And so that will help cloud things for Donald Trump, but the stink of this is going to end up on Donald Trump in a substantial way. And I don't know how he navigates around it.
And the difference is, it seems to me that Democrats are saying, listen, if there are names of, people higher up in the Democratic Party in the Epstein Files, bring it. Show the world, right? But the MAGA people try to circle the wagons around Trump to excuse his behavior. So there's a real difference in the way that this is approached. I have a feeling that we're not going to be seeing anything negative about Trump. I think, as you say, that, they hired FBI agents to scour through the documents. Why would they do that unless they were expecting something like this to happen where, were they forced to release the documents that his name would be purged?
Sure. I mean, Pam Bondi's getting warnings from senators and Congress people on both sides of the aisle. I mean, Republicans are saying, don't slow walk the public release of these records. They do the arithmetic too. Here's how Pam Bondi may protect the president further. So even the GOP is saying, hey, don't slow walk this. And, you know, Trump's tried to. The reporting on this is pretty good. The vote on the Epstein file, of course, there was tons of, you know, arm twisting in they went to the Situation Room and they lobbied senators and they lobbied Congress people.
Lauren Boebert.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the power of this thing. It's beyond their ability to arm twist. And that's why they've gone to damage control, and damage control is all associated with how we manage what comes out and when it comes out. And then, again, you get to GOP sweating and browbeating Bondi to not slow walk it. So that's the way the Epstein file thing goes down. So
The Mark Thompson Show.
On the legal side of things, we'll talk to David Katz, who can speak to a little bit of what can happen in terms of the administration being legally compelled to release certain things, and in fact, even legally compelled to testify to certain things. So I saw that Hakeem Jeffries was House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries talked about James Comer and the House Oversight Chairman. Called him a stone-cold liar after Comer alleged that Jeffries had solicited money from Jeffrey Epstein in 2013. There's a lot of that right now. People saying you accepted money from him, because Epstein did sprinkle it around, you know. Democrats have been silent about their colleagues' coordination with Epstein. Democrat fundraisers inviting Epstein to attend an event or meet privately with Hakeem Jeffries. Was that a serious question or a serious statement from malignant clown James Comer, that I had Jeffrey Epstein over for a dinner, that I accepted money from Jeffrey Epstein? This is from Hakeem Jeffries saying this. Hakeem Jeffries went on to say, what's extraordinary to me about the clown show on the other side of the aisle is that they lie with impunity on things that are objectively verifiable. According to documents released by the Oversight Republicans last week, Epstein got a campaign solicitation from a fundraising firm touting Jeffries as one of the rising stars in the New York congressional delegation. So, I mean, again, that's not a solicitation from Hakeem Jeffries, but it's this is what it's devolved to, you know. But I think you're going to really you'll find it harder and harder to have that kind of thing be a distraction. It might work on Fox News Channel, you know, but I think in the general public, it'll be harder for that stuff to carry the day.
But isn't that interesting that the moment the Trump signature goes on the release of the files bill, the minute that happens, the guys like Comer, the MAGA enthusiasts in the House, immediately start finger pointing at Democrats.
Yeah, no, it's true.
There was probably an edict that came down. Okay, pick your Democrat and ready, set, go.
Yeah, I mean, that's clearly going to be the strategy moving forward. So David Katz is coming up, and
The Mark Thompson Show.
I'm going to try to squeeze in a chunk of Trump here. Also, I wanted to mention I am wearing the Project 1984.5 T-shirt. I've also ordered the Project 1984.5 coffee mug. And this is all at getmarkmerch.com. I like Project 1984.5, and we have the Born to Peacefully Protest shirts and mugs. We have the Peacefully Resist mug, which I'm drinking from this morning. But I like Project 1984.5 because I feel as though, and there's a lot of make love, not fascism. Courtney designed all of this stuff. The Project 1984, and there's a project with the kind of cursive, and then this has more of the old school, what is it, maybe almost a kind of a neon sort of thing, Project 1984 and .5. That's the one I'm wearing, the one you see there. Anyway, I like it because that's what you're living through right now, whether you realize it or not. This is an Orwellian government that plays themselves as Big Brother. They claim transparency when they actually are all about cover-up. They claim freedom when they are going into the streets and arresting Americans left and right, and they're telling you, again, that things have never been better, prices have never been lower, things are incredible, happy days are here again, we're the hottest country on earth. He was saying that in that Saudi thing. He was saying, a year ago, they said we were done. Now, the prince told me we're the hottest country on earth. Anyway, getmarkmerch.com is where you can see it and buy it. And I just feel like we're living an Orwellian disinformation campaign. Never, would have imagined at this level. The Bureau of Labor Statistics, you saw the latest. They fire the Bureau of Labor Statistics head because she had the wrong information. But the very latest is that they've now just gotten rid of that regular reporting schedule. So now we're not getting a bunch of reports that we would normally get, flawed as they might have been, with polling, et cetera, having holes in it. It's like a survey. When I say polling, they survey various businesses. That's how you know how many employees have been discharged, and this is the state of certain parts of the economy. But now they've just gotten rid of that altogether.
I would argue that she didn't have the wrong information. They just didn't like her information.
Right. That's exactly right. I think that's exactly right. Yes. Numbers are so bad. Fire the messenger. Exactly. Anyway, getmarkmerch.com is where you can get those stocking stuffers for those in your family who might be a little bit prone toward activism or into the show and supporting the show. It's another way you can support us. I'll mention one other big way that you can support us is Patreon and PayPal. If you haven't yet, consider becoming a monthly supporter. For the price of a coffee, $5 a month or whatever, you could be part of our crew on Patreon and PayPal. There are links to contribute, to be part of things, and the community that supports this show is critical. TheMarkThompsonShow.com, and then you click Patreon or PayPal, and then it'll take you to the link where you can make a contribution. Or there are hot links under all our videos if you're on YouTube. Every video has a Patreon or PayPal link under it. So that's all available to you to become part of the community that is this show, keeps it growing and going. I appreciate very much everybody who is a Patreon or PayPal supporter, who supports us in any way, buys our merch, is coming to the meetup, however you do it. We do appreciate it, and we hope that the meetup will have our
Prince Mohammed ibn Salman ibn Abdulaziz Al Saud.
Yeah, hope that we can get a prince in. It would be good, Albert, if we could just upgrade our list to include one prince. It doesn't have to be that prince, but one prince would be great.
I would like that too. Yeah,
I think it would help. Yeah.
The tax bracket and that, and the collective money that will be there. Maybe they will donate a lot to the Mark Thompson Show.
I've said again, I'm for sale. I mean, I understand the Trumpian thing where he just wants to cash a check or two. That sounds great. So, now I. At a fork in the road, I've got.
We're at that time of show when we're going to start something with David Katz is going to join.
Yeah, that's exactly
any minute.
It.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Let me spend a quick second because we're not going to touch on this at all with David Katz, and I'd like to just touch on it if I might. First of all, smash the like button like you should do it.
Your iron rod.
Yeah, you should do it like you mean it. But as I've told you before, two things happen when you smash the like button. You bring a period of good luck and happiness to you and your family.
Smash it with your iron rod.
I know, it seems incredible. And the other thing is when you subscribe, you guarantee yourself and your family a year of good luck and happiness if you subscribe to the show and hit the notification bell. And
they are kissing my ass.
No, I don't know. All I'm saying is, please subscribe. Don't do it for me. Is my point. Do it for yourself and your family. If you care about good luck and happiness,
is it
you
the
will
same kind
subscribe
of
and hit the notification bell. Sorry,
Kim.
Yeah.
Is it the same kind of good luck and happiness you get when you forward on a chain letter? Is that the same thing?
Kim, how are you?
Albert, why is Kim speaking when I'm in the middle of a pitch like that? Yeah. I don't understand it, Albert. We've been doing this show for 3 years, and she still doesn't get it. She doesn't. She just doesn't get it.
You just don't get it, do you? You don't.
A chain letter.
wondered.
A chain letter. I can't she even, it's just
We could try ignoring it, sir.
How do I ignore that? All right.
Would you like to apologize for what you've done?
I think Kim could apologize if I know she's not big on apology.
No.
Is that like a Tubin apology? Maybe like a Stephen A. Smith?
I feel as though, I think she could go full Tubin on that because she mentioned a chain letter.
My words upset so many people.
Yeah, I think your words.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think my
words upset so many people.
Well, your words upset at least a couple of people.
Oh.
It was wrong. It was stupid, and I'm trying to be a better person.
That's what we're talking about, exactly. So, anyway, big fan.
My bad. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Okay. All right, everyone, just settle down. Let's. I want to do a quick mention of something that's not going to come up here.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Thank you for being here. Smash the like button if you would. Please subscribe to the show. Share whatever you want. If you see something you like a particular conversation, Sarah Kenzie or David K. Johnston, John Rothman, whomever, and David Katz is upcoming, please do share it on your Facebook page, social media, wherever you are. The U.S. and Russian officials have drafted a plan to end the Ukraine war based on what is essentially a surrender by the Ukrainians.
I don't think the Ukrainians have signed on to that. What?
Well, the whole deal was drafted without the Ukrainians even being part of it.
Right.
It's absolutely outrageous.
What?
U.S. and Russian officials have drafted a new plan to end the war in Ukraine that would require Kyiv to surrender territory and severely limit the size of its military. This as a Russian drone and missile strikes killed at least 25 people in the city of Ternopil. This plan, which was reportedly developed by Donald Trump's envoy, Steve Witkoff, whose son, I'll remind you, is owner with the Trump family in the crypto platform on which all of the crypto meme coins and other crypto is traded that's related to the Trump fortune. I mean, any crypto that is being purchased from crypto meme coins to just a crypto transaction that is traded on World Liberty, which is the platform, that is Steve Witkoff's son, along with Donald Trump's sons. Anyway, I continue. Steve Witkoff, and also you remember, Steve Witkoff is a real estate mogul, golfing buddy of Donald Trump's, and he is our secretary, our major envoy to navigate and negotiate all of these different deals, Middle East, Ukraine, etc. And Secretary of State, I get it, is Rubio. So anyway, this deal was made between Witkoff and Kremlin advisor Kirill Dmitriev, and it would force draconian measures on Ukraine that would give Russia unprecedented control over the country's military and political sovereignty. I mean, it's essentially a surrender. The Financial Times and Reuters both reporting that the proposal would require Ukraine to cede territory it controls in the east of the country and half the size of its military. The existence of this 28-point plan, which appears to be inspired by a similar proposal the Trump administration developed to end the war in Gaza, is something that the White House is not responding to in terms of questions by reporters. Washington keeps saying they're close to a peace deal between Russia and Ukraine. You know, it's all coming in 2 weeks along with the health care plan. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio last night saying that a durable peace would require both sides to agree to difficult but necessary concessions. It's a...
necessary for who?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, meantime, as I say, rockets are raining down on Ukraine, and it doesn't appear that any end is truly in sight. That's the story on Ukraine. Now,
The Mark Thompson Show.
I did want to report one other major story. I guess this is sort of a law and disorder story, really.
David just popped in just want to let you know.
Thank you, Albert. You see how respectful your brother is, Kim, how he just jumps in?
Albert, thank you.
Yeah. I don't know why you can't be respectful like Albert.
I'll try to be more like him in the future. My bad. I'm sorry.
I do want to mention this because, we are now a country of God-fearing, divine-following, magnificent, chosen Christians who follow one God. There is only one real God. And we get that word from pastors, priests, those who are close to the President of the United States, who was chosen by God to bring us the kind of enlightenment that we are experiencing now. And the Texas megachurch pastor close to Donald Trump, sadly, he has now, even though he's founded one of the largest megachurch congregations in the country, he's pleaded guilty to sexually abusing a girl of 12.
Oh, God.
In Oklahoma. Pretty awful. Robert Morris entering he's going away for a long time now, but he's already been able to skate for a long time because this thing happened in the 80s. Robert Morris, 64, entering a plea during a hearing on Thursday, admitting to felony charges of lewd and indecent acts with a child. He was handed a 10-year sentence, which seems like it's not long enough. But he'll only serve 6 months in jail and be on probation for the rest of the time.
What?
He'll register as a sex offender and pay $250,000 in restitution. Handcuffed and detained.
It doesn't seem like nearly enough.
No,
6 months in jail?
It's
Really?
horrifying. It's absolutely horrifying.
Yeah.
This is how we treat victims in this country?
Mm-hmm.
He was a traveling evangelist living with this girl's family in Oklahoma. He abused her for 4 years. It is unspeakably awful. She said that she had first told her parents and leaders at the church about this abuse in 1987, but no one did anything. No one called the police. And then at its peak, this church is a mega church, had 100,000 active attendees, 9 locations in Texas and surrounding areas. And as I say, this man, Morris, who's 64, Robert Morris, he was named as Donald Trump's spiritual advisor and a member of his evangelical advisory committee in 2016.
Well, they seem to be spiritually aligned. Here's what he said. He released a statement saying he had a moral failure with a young lady. First of all, no, she's not a young lady. She was a child, and you sexually abused her. Period. End of sentence.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. A young lady, age 12. The kind of shame that should rain down on this guy is clearly the kind of shame that he's not capable of. And who knows who else he's doing this to. I mean, again, so that story to me is a coda to a lot of the other stuff that's going on there. And again, a connection to the White House.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Hour 2 on a Thursday, always exciting for me. I mean it literally. I do get excited to talk to him, especially with everything going on with a Justice Department that has been completely occupied by functionaries of this president. It's pretty much unprecedented in American history. Still, the court grinds on, and court cases nationwide, both the federal court level, the appeals court level, at the level of the Supreme Court, they can surprise. And his predictions and forecasts have been uncanny. He is one of the leading scholars and legal analysts in the English-speaking world. Joins us, as I say, on Thursdays, the former federal prosecutor, now defense attorney, the great David Katz.
Great to be with you, Mark, and welcome back. I was with Mo Kelly twice, and I really enjoyed it, but great to be back with you.
Yeah, he's really great. I'm glad you guys could vibe a little bit back and forth. So the release of the Epstein Files, I will start with it because there is, even in the legislation, the legal provisos, it seems, to kind of allow the cloak of darkness to continue over a lot of it. They mentioned an ongoing investigation would prevent the release of certain information. And so Pam Bondi is, I think, given some wiggle room here. That's as a layperson just looking in, but I wonder if you could give us the X's and O's.
Well, it was difficult to even get that bill through. Trump and the speaker delayed it for months. And then the bipartisan effort, there were 4 or 5 Republicans who jumped on board along with the Democrats and finally pushed it through. They did have some good language in there, Mark. They say that the files are not to be withheld because there's supposed reputational harm. And they say that they're not supposed to be unduly delayed. And so those are all good things. About the only thing that people really agree on is that, of course, the victims shouldn't be identified, and there shouldn't be ways to identify the victims from information that's in there. And of course, there is a concern that I have as a civil libertarian and as a criminal defense attorney myself, that, the innuendo. I mean, having someone's name in there before people explain, why the name is in there or something like that. There's obviously some huge harm there. So a conscientious review would be in order. Of course, we're fearful that there won't be a conscientious review, that any Democrat or any enemy of Trump will be leaked and pilloried in the press, and that really the more culpable actors, as long as they're Republicans or friends of Trump, they'll be held back. They'll be suppressed. There's also concern that some of the records are being destroyed even as we speak, or some of the files have been destroyed or tampered with already. I could address that just very briefly. I'm not as worried about that as some people. One of the remarkable things about this case is that over 1,000 FBI agents were called in to cull through the records and supposedly eliminate Trump's name, and then they went to the Attorney General and the head of the FBI and said, it's too much. Even with 1,000 of us, culling through and redacting Trump's name, there's just too many mentions of President Trump. What the hell do we do now? And that's when Trump said, forget the whole thing. I know I campaigned on those records being transparent. Don't release anybody. Why is anybody in the world interested in Jeffrey Epstein? And then we've been all through that, for weeks. And now we finally have the bill having been successful, having been approved by the Senate, I guess, without even a voice vote. And then, of course, Trump had to sign it. What's interesting, I listened to Spanish language radio, and it's not all bad reporting there, but some of the reporting makes it sound like this was an ordinary bill and that President Trump then signed it. Of course, nothing like that happened. But I'm not that worried about the destruction of records because, as I just said, there are 1,000 FBI agents who are now witness to what was in there. From them and their reports, you can figure out what must have been there, what they must have reviewed. And also people leave a trail when they obstruct justice or they tamper with evidence. And so from some reference in one thing to something else that's now gone, you can figure out. And there's one thing that the FBI does do very well is chain of custody. And so I think that there'll be very good marks of the chain of custody of what went in the files. And the final thing is that there are witnesses to it who were the victims. So the victims know what ought to be there. They know that a photograph was taken with them. They might not want to say it in a public document. They might not want to be sued by one of these rich, powerful people. But they certainly would tell investigators, hey, I remember they took 3 or 4 photos and a couple of videos. Where the hell are they?
We are supposed to see that stuff too, David. That is to say, we're supposed to see videos and photos. It's not just all witness accounts or FBI investigative materials, right? That is to say, written word.
If it's a photo of let's take 2 terrible instances. One, it's a photo of a 13-year-old girl being abused, a 15-year-old girl. We're not going to see that because just like we're not going to see anything that would tend toward, child pornography or a child scene like that, we're not going to see that. Now, of course, investigators would see it. The House Oversight Committee, Senate, so forth, other investigators would see it. They could describe it. But no, we're not going to see it any more than we would see anything else that was like that. And something that shows either death or abuse, they carve that out. So we're not going to see any kind of, really awful things, snuff things. Hopefully, there's nothing like that. But, there's hundreds of victims in this case. Who knows what some of them endured? Who knows some of them aren't around anymore? I mean, the idea that, that he was the world's greatest blackmailer, Jeffrey Epstein, and best friend of Trump, by his own statement of Jeffrey Epstein, that Trump was his best friend. You have, Jeffrey Epstein run around being the world's greatest blackmailer. Who knows what? People don't succumb to blackmail. What happens then? So there are so many unanswered questions, awful questions, but at least we are getting somewhere. And you have to say this for the MAGA people. They got fixated on this. They pushed this through. They didn't take no for an answer, even from the cult leader Trump. And now we at least have a clock, tick-tock. What do we have? 29 days to go.
Yeah, 30 days total, so 29 more. Right. Exactly.
So something has to be done. And a lot of it is going to come out.
I want to pivot quickly to something else that's happening. It's kind of the news of the moment. The prosecutions and selective prosecutions from this administration are on full display, and the latest is news out of the Comey prosecution, which seems slapped together to begin with. They, couldn't really get any legit prosecutor there at the Justice Department to bring the case, so they got the insurance lawyer who was really working on insurance cases for Donald Trump and had her sit in the captain's chair and bring this prosecution. And it was slapshot to begin with, I guess. A lot of the wording that you would be familiar with, like sort of the legal boxes that needed to be checked, weren't checked. But now there apparently is an egregious act on the part of that same insurance lawyer turned prosecutor that may have turned this entire case against Comey on its side. Can you speak to that?
I hope you have my Katsadamus ready to go, the deluxe one done by my Disney illustrator friend, because Comey's in the clear. I think the question is going to be what Comey's state of mind is and his lawyers and how many millions of dollars they want to sue the government for. Hopefully they give it to some charity, some rule of law organization or something like that. But the case against Comey is going to fail. It's going to go nowhere. It never should have been brought. It's just an absolutely remarkable situation because you would think that, people say, well, she'd only been a prosecutor for 3 or 4 days. One of the many lies that have been, I think, revealed by the judges and also by the magistrate judges, by both of them. They both have different proceedings going as part of it. But by the sharp questioning of both of them is that this was, of course, not her decision. And everything in this, people said, if this isn't prosecutorial misconduct, if this isn't grand jury abuse, there never has been any. I mean, this will be taught for 50 or 100 years as what not to do in front of a grand jury. And let me just tell you a couple of things. First of all, you never had the evidence of vindictive prosecution. Everybody plays it cool except for Trump. Number one, he likes the idea that the world knows that he gotcha. The idea normally is to keep it secret. Get the person, the people who need to know, I gotcha.
Yeah, he plays for the announcement. Right.
The world isn't bragged to, I gotcha. But he did that. Number one, he wrote it. And number two, supposedly it was going to be a DM, and then somebody pushed the wrong button. They're all geniuses over there in the Trump White House. Somebody pushed the wrong button, and it went out to the world as a Truth Social post where it says, get Comey. You don't have much time. Do it. And then within a few days, this Halligan comes in and does it. Now, that is an amazing, great fact that cuts short all the discovery you'd normally have to have ordered, all the things you'd ask the judge to do, the judge telling you it's extraordinary, it's very rare that we dismiss cases on selective or vindictive prosecution. What's your record? What's your basis? And you'd fumble around with inferences. You would never have something as good as Trump's DM saying, get this person. Then you have her saying that, well, she made a decision all by herself, had nothing to do with Trump. Well, she's had the job for 3 days. It's a quite complex record. How did she all by herself, without any prodding, make that decision in 3 days? And one of the judges pointed that out to her. On top of that, they have this time crunch. So they might have even then done it more adroitly, except they're under the gun. They have to do this really fast. And this is one of the things that happened. You know, when I was an assistant U.S. attorney, we had a case that took forever to get put together, and they bring in grand juries on certain days. So I had this Tuesday grand jury. And if there were a SIG alert all over town, if there were a huge rainstorm, if you couldn't get the grand jurors in, it was gone. If I didn't get it that Tuesday, I wasn't going to get it because my statute of limitations was going to run on Friday. Not the way to do it, but we had good cause there because the investigation ran right up until the time the statute ran. Here, they had to do this because his testimony in Congress was exactly 5 years minus a couple of days. So they didn't even have a week to wait or a week or two to wait, given the fact that Trump wanted to do this vindictive thing. And once he wanted to do the vindictive selective thing, he had to do it by 5 years from the testimony of Comey because it was a 5-year statute of limitations mark. So that helps to explain how incredibly inept she was. On top of that, you have
you're saying that explains why it was slapshod, right? And she was just in the chair for 3 days, right? Okay, so I'm sorry, didn't mean to interrupt. I was trying to get it clear in my head. Go ahead.
Right, and then there was a presidentially selected normal U.S. attorney in that district, the Northern District of Virginia or Eastern District of Virginia, the one that's right next to Washington D.C. Mark, and they had already, by the way, you've gone out on my screen, but I guess you're still fine.
We still hear you, so go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, great. So they had this normal United States attorney, and he was, the normal person you would expect in a Republican administration, very credentialed, very experienced, right, to the right of center, but that's what you'd expect in a normal administration. He wouldn't do it. He said, I'm an officer of the court. He's obviously worried about his bar card one day. And he said, I'm not doing it. There's no case against Comey. I'm not going to bring this. I have an ethical duty to only bring a case that I believe there's proof beyond a reasonable doubt. And it doesn't exist here. I won't do it. So Trump said, you won't, you're fired. So he was forced to resign. And now the clock is really, really ticking. And that's when this White House lawyer of his who has no prosecutorial experience comes in. Now, then she makes a couple of mind-boggling mistakes. And I think it's important that you have a guest on like me who's actually been in front of the federal grand jury, because there's a lot of people who are very experienced lawyers, but unless you've had that particular job of being an assistant U.S. attorney or federal prosecutor, you could be the greatest defense attorney in the world, the greatest former public defender in the world. You've never been in front of the grand jury. So let me just make this a little clear because I think it gets a little obscure and part of the story. So you have about 16 to 20 grand jurors. They're not like regular jurors. They don't come in day after day like a normal jury. They come in on a Tuesday or a Wednesday. They're normal people who are not taking this chunk of 3 or 4 weeks out of their life, let's say, to try a case. They're taking 1 day a week. Normally they're permitted by their employer, and they come in that 1 day a week. So you get those 16 or 20 people together, and then you have to have a quorum. You have to have so many people, 16, 18, and then you have to have a majority of them vote an indictment. None of that normally happens because there's only one person making the presentation. That's the prosecutor, and the prosecutor normally has a script. Apparently, she went in there even without a script of how this was going to be done, and because she had only been in the job 3 days, she'd never been, I think, in front of this grand jury before. So instead of it being the familiar prosecutor who comes in every Tuesday, she's a complete unknown to them. And she runs in there and presents these 3 counts. And even with her being the only person presenting it, they vote no on one of the counts. A majority refuses to indict on one of the counts. You can imagine that it was stormy. Now, the judge has ordered the transcript, which are normally top secret and never given even to the defense attorney. But in this extraordinary case, the judge, who does get to see it, of course, said there's so many problems in this. I need to have a full explanation from the defense. I have to give them the grand jury transcript, even though they're normally so secret. And that's what he ordered. The Trump administration ran to court and has managed to get a stay for the moment of the defense attorneys getting the actual transcript. Once they do get it, and I believe the stay will be lifted and the defense attorneys will get it, you and I and the public won't see it again because it's top secret, only turned over for the purpose at this time of them making the arguments why the grand jury indictment ought to be dismissed. She does two things without her script, without any experience, with just meeting this grand jury for the first time, with them already not willing to indict on one of her 3 counts, which are, it's unbelievable. She tells them two things which are completely misconduct. She says, you know, Comey can tell his side of the story, and she makes it sound like Comey will have this unfettered right to tell his side of the story. And get ready, you're hearing our side of the story, you should indict, and then you'll hear his whole story, or some jury will hear his whole story, and he can say anything he wants to. In the course of that, Mark, she never admonishes them. Of course, he has a Fifth Amendment right not to tell his side of the story. He has a Fifth Amendment right to remain silent. You may never hear, quote, his side of the story because he has a right under our Constitution to never tell it to you. So you need to decide just based on what I tell you. Also, to gild the lily, because you can speculate that this grand jury is like rolling their eyes, looking at her like, why are we doing this? Why are we bringing this indictment? She says, you know what? We may have a lot more. This may seem kind of thin, but all the good stuff's going to come in at trial. We got a lot more. So she encourages them to speculate that there's a lot of evidence out there, none of which is presented or explained to them, which is going to make this a much stronger case than what they're hearing. It's astonishing that somebody with a college degree would do that. You don't need to have been to the Advocacy Institute in Washington, D.C. before you take your post as a U.S. attorney or assistant U.S. attorney to know that that's wrong.
Well, that's the Rudy Giuliani School of Prosecution, which is, Your Honor, I know you don't see any evidence here now, but I've got a bunch of evidence I just left in my other pants.
And some at the press conference, and the rest of it I left in my car. But trust me, I was the mayor of New York. Trust me, I worked for Trump in the White House. The next extraordinary thing that happens, okay, is that the judge orders her to give him, the judge, all the transcripts. The judge looks through there and says, something's missing. I don't get it. So they vote no on this indictment on one of the counts. And then when did you present them the grand jury indictment? Because I don't see that in the transcripts. They huddle in court. They have some lawyer down there arguing for the Department of Justice. Believe me, this is a job that probably 100 lawyers at the Department of Justice said, I will quit. I will do whatever. I will never carry water for you, Trump, or my U.S. attorney on this. Fire me, do whatever you want. So they get this guy to actually go in there and argue this case along with his Halligan. So they confer. And he comes back and says to her, says to the judge, you know, Your Honor, there is no such transcript. He says, well, if there's no transcript of when you presented it to the grand jury, did you ever present it to the grand jury? The answer is no. This indictment, which was filed at court, this indictment, which Comey now has to answer as the sole indictment in the case, has never been read by or presented to the grand jury. And I think the way that happens is that, so they sit in a room, and then, you know, people go to the bathroom, they get a drink of water or something like that. So I think what happened was that the grand jury has now voted no on one of the counts. She's now amended the other 2 counts. She now has this amended indictment. And she probably says to herself, you know, the grand jury was such a hard time. I don't want to go back in front of them again and have me yell at them some more and ask me all these questions that I have to go tell them, you know, I know it's very thin, but the fat cow is going to show up at some point, maybe at trial, or maybe Comey will tell his side of this, must tell his side of the story, whatever she applies to them. So I think she finds the foreperson and the secretary out in the hallway, and she says to the foreperson and the secretary, sign here. And so it's signed by the foreperson, and maybe it's signed by the secretary, but it's never presented to the grand jury. And that's what the judge has finally determined, because he found that missing presentation, and he found out there never had been any presentation to the grand jury. So Comey stands now accused of an indictment which has not been returned by the grand jury. It's not been read by the grand jury. It's apparently just signed here on the dotted line by the foreperson and the secretary, which is totally improper. I mean, I never really thought it through. I've never, ever heard of a case where something like that happened, and neither have the commentators. Now, the last question you might ask is, so what happens now? When the judge throws this out, which seems inevitable, Can't they just go back and indict again? And the answer is no, because it does not extend the statute of limitations. We call it toll the statute of limitations by having brought a defective indictment. Had they brought a proper indictment, and if they now wanted to go back and supersede, there'd be some arguments that you could relate back, or part of it was brought in time and now you brought something else. But when the indictment gets thrown out in toto, as I believe this one will be, Comey will be accused of nothing. The statute of limitations has run. It's been more than 5 years. Nothing told the statute of limitations. So all that will be left is what remedies are left to this distinguished former FBI director, having been absolutely dragged through the mud, wrongly charged, and this clown show. I mean, people say a clown show. This one really is. It's not a metaphor here. This is like a bad Saturday Night Live routine. And if you ran it by lawyers, they'd say, it's too incredible to believe. What? They never presented to a grand jury. They just never present. How could it be that the final indictment was never presented to the grand jury?
I mean, it's so wildly absurd. By the way, my Kim, my board is freezing up a little bit, so you'll have to handle comments. But I saw among the comments, of course, there's the typical comment, which I think is appropriate, which is, they'll ship her out and they'll bring in some other, incompetent functionary for Trump, as the Justice Department seems more committed to a loyalty than to competence these days. But what I also saw was a statement about disbarment. Just as an aside, is it possible to be disbarred for something like this, or is this more considered like a clerical problem as opposed to an ethical issue? You have to unmute him. I can't.
Ashamed of. It's certainly something for the that attorney. I think her name is Halligan. To be ashamed of her whole life, and it's you make a deal with the devil, and here you are. When I became an assistant U.S. attorney, the then U.S. attorney, whose name is Steve Trott, he's still alive. He's on the Ninth Circuit, but he always said, everything you do, imagine it were run on the front page of the L.A. Times. With all of our confidentiality and everything like that, imagine it were run on the front page of the L.A. Times with all of its details. You better be okay with every detail. And if you're not, don't do it. And the other thing is the old adage that you'll be remembered by the stupidest, worst thing you do in your career. And hopefully this will be the stupidest, worst thing that she ever does in her career. Mark, it's hard to imagine she would ever be in a situation to exercise that kind of power again. In terms, if they had lied to the judge, they seem to have come clean with the judge. Yes, it was a convoluted process and the judge had to draw it out of them. But on balance, I think she probably won't be disbarred. I think there are some people who are in much more trouble in terms of being disbarred. I think our Attorney General Bondi, I think our FBI Director Kash Patel, I think they're really in trouble. They really had managerial responsibility. They knew what they were doing. My goodness, they should have known better. I'm not saying she shouldn't have known better, but just Katsadamas, I wouldn't right now bet that she's going to be disbarred. I think that Bondi and Patel have to. There was an attorney general who went to federal prison, John Mitchell, under Nixon.
Sure.
And that's a real thing. This idea, and people say, well, she'll get a pardon. Trump's going to pardon everybody, all of his lackeys and puppets on the way out the door. He'll pardon. So that's why Patel and Bondi, the deputy attorney general, they aren't really worried. First of all, what a terrible mark on their, that they would need a pardon, and the world will know, in detail what they did. But there's other things. First of all, there's there are other ways. Like I said, there may be some things they did in states, and none of the pardons apply to states. There may be violations of law that federal officials did. That's a complicated area, Mark. But the idea that a federal official can never be called to account for a state crime, even though there's proof beyond a reasonable doubt of the commission of the state crime within the state statute of limitations, well, that's a difficult issue. I wouldn't want to take my chance if I were Patel or Bondi that it breaks my way.
Well, they're taking their chance, whether they, they're sort of forced to. I mean, in for a penny, in for a pound with them. I think they're in all the way. But I want to pivot to another Trump policy that is being carried out, and it would seem lawlessly, and that's associated with the Alien Enemies Act and the idea somehow that you can deport people here prior to and without any kind of judicial review. The judge who originally presided over this case and said, hey, return those prisoners, the now prisoners, those people that you scooped up, They weren't given any kind of due process, etc. That judge is now following through on what is really a contempt of court claim, as I understand it, David Katz. Maybe you can set me straight, saying, I issued an order and you guys didn't follow it.
Well, that's contempt 101. You have to do what the federal judge orders you to do. If you believe the federal judge is in error, then you ask for a stay so you don't actually get, if it's criminal contempt, so you don't get locked up right away. And if it's civil contempt, so you don't get locked up right away until you comply with the judge's order. They say you have the keys to the jailhouse door in your own hand when it's a civil contempt. But unless you get to the Court of Appeals quickly and get them to reverse the contempt citation, you've just violated the law, either the criminal law or the civil law, if you don't do what a judge tells you to do. And that's what, Trump, and who's the other one? Honan, this head of, is he the head of ICE?
Homan,
the head of ICE, right? He's the one who's suspected of the $50,000 cash that he took.
The FBI sting,
And he says things like, I don't care what the judges say. And I said this once when Mussolini was coming to power. Mussolini's aides did not say, I don't care what the Italian courts say. That is the statement of an absolute authoritarian that even authoritarian regimes have tried not to make. They try to at least say that they will observe what the courts say. Honan hasn't done that. Trump hasn't done that. And they acted in all those situations like, well, these were just some people obstructing justice, almost like they were demonstrators obstructing justice. These are the Article 3 life-tenured federal judges who carefully deliberated on something and ordered the administration to do something, like return Abrego Garcia to the United States. And I predicted even then that, and it didn't seem likely, I have to say that they would obey the orders of the judges, but they did. As much as, they found ways to do it. Well, they're prosecuting him in Tennessee. He was actually transporting aliens. They said about Abrego Garcia, we're not really bringing him back because the judge ordered us. We're bringing him back because we want to, because we're going to prosecute him here. They found a way, but they observed pretty much the judge's orders. And Mark, I think you're going to see that over and over again. And I know people are worried that the U.S. Supreme Court is not going to stand firm and back up the Constitution and back up the lower federal judges. And we'll see case by case. But I think in general they will. And I think the arc of these cases is that the federal judges have really stood up for the law and have told Trump that he can't do this and he can't do that. And that while he's got a lot of bluster, I think pretty much his administration is following the judge's orders. I know the rhetoric isn't. It doesn't sound like that, and all the bluster and all this, the threats and the statements they make, even against federal judges, have been very disturbing. That they don't show respect for the rule of law and respect for the judiciary. But I think if you look case by case, they followed orders. They do not want to go into contempt. By the way, contempt cannot be pardoned. That's between a federal judge and the contemnor. And so if a judge ordered one of his officials locked up, and that was the judge's orders, I don't believe that he could give a pardon in that particular situation of a federal judge finding a person in contempt of that federal judge's order.
That's extraordinary. I did not know that. I haven't heard anybody else make that point. I think it's interesting, just as an aside, that the attorney, now no longer with the DOJ, but he was with the DOJ at the time, who was appearing before the judge, now is being called back in to testify. He was the one who said that it was a mistake, it was a mistake to deport Kilmore Garcia. As it turns out, my bad, I'm sorry, but the Trump administration didn't like that. They dumped him for having admitted that it was a mistake to the judge. Now the judge, again, having indicated he's following through on this contempt, he wants to hear from that DOJ attorney who was fired. And so Kilmar Abrego Garcia's case, lives on in this way.
Well, it was really quite extraordinary. You remember, this is the situation where there were 3 planes, and it looked very clear that one of the planes had not taken off. The judge had ordered, don't have any more planes take off, turn around. So not only did the 2 planes not turn around, but one plane took off after the judge issued the order. Then the administration and Trump got caught having violated the judge's order. Then they came up with this flimsy argument that, well, oral orders don't count. until an order is written down, which is mind-boggling, Mark. I'll give you some free legal advice. If a judge ever tells you, Mr. Thompson, do such and such or don't do such and such, don't do the opposite for the next 2 hours and tell me, Katz, stay at the courthouse and see if there's a written order. And that's actually the flimsy, idiotic position that they took, that they were not in contempt. And then, of course, they didn't bring him back. It went to the U.S. Supreme Court. The Supreme Court said facilitate the return. They acted like they didn't know what facilitate meant. There was some dictator down there in El Salvador who wouldn't let them come back, like they had no power over him. You know, these people around the world, they just do what they want. And Trump just sits there, this powerless, little weak, functionary. Trump just sits there. You can't tell even the country like El Salvador what to do. And everybody was just laughing because they knew, of course, he could tell them exactly what to do. And again, Trump was performing, showing that the guy really was his puppet, this Central American dictator, self-described, world's coolest dictator. But Trump could dictate to him, and he wanted the world to see that this was all a big show and Trump was acting disingenuous. And you see, the Supreme Court voted 9-0 that Obregón Garcia be brought back. And one way or the other, Obregón Garcia was brought back.
Yeah, I mean, the continuing saga of Obregón Garcia, I think, involves deportation to a third country still. But just on that kind of thing where, there's a jihad going on the part of the administration, the other one involves Letitia James, the New York Attorney General. And apparently, again, in defense, do you call it discovery or evidence that the defense has, defending the Attorney General Letitia James on the case of the mortgage? It was the mortgage thing, the Fannie Mae deal. The indications are that there were internal communications from Fannie Mae showing the government-controlled company's top fraud investigators. Again, they're getting her on fraud or trying to. The government-controlled company's top fraud investigators believed the mortgage fraud case against Letitia James was relatively weak. The vice president of financial crimes was told by the director of mortgage fraud investigations at Fannie Mae that the Letitia James case is certainly not clear and convincing evidence. This was in an email communication during a June 13th discussion of investigation into James. The internal conversation, according to defense attorneys, also includes additional evidence that the Federal Housing Finance Agency Director Bill Pulte, he's the guy who is going after everybody on behalf of Donald Trump, was directly and potentially inappropriately involved in the investigations by Fannie Mae. So this is, again, a light that's being shown on the improprieties that the administration is continuing to perpetrate based on the fact that the ends justify the means, in effect. They want Letitia James nailed, and I don't care about the fact that the evidence against her is flimsy.
Bill Pulte, he's an interesting story, and you would think there'd be even more reporting on it. He's a Nepo baby. He's from a rich family. Their vehicle is called the Pulte Group, or this Pulte Group has some relationship with them. I guess they are long-standing in Michigan. One thing that I'm really curious about is that this Pulte Group gave a campaign contribution, not that large, I think it was $1,500 or $2,000, to the Democratic senator from Democratic senator from Michigan. I think her name is Slotkin. And they also gave a campaign contribution to Ruben Gallegos, who I think highly of. Both of them voted to confirm Pulte. And there were reason to think that this Pulte was going to be a real $3 bill when he got there. He was a true Trump loyalist, a Trump fanatic. Anyway, they, along with one or two other Democrats, confirmed Pulte. Now, he probably would have made it just on Republican votes. And then he turned out to be this absolute $3 bill, where he's turned his agency into, a department of vengeance. They're supposed to be doing Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac yawn. But, one of the things that he's done is now try to make these bogus referrals. And one of the referrals is on Senator Schiff, which I can tell you because I've looked at that carefully, and Schiff has defended what he did. It's complete garbage. And they're trying to do this now, and I think Swalwell, too. They're potentially making a referral on him. He's a Congress member from Northern California. Also, someone who's looked sharply into Trump's actions on January 6th. And the other one that he doesn't like, besides Swalwell and Schiff, is this Letitia James, because she sued him successfully. These cases seem to be completely bogus. They've managed to get the memo on Letitia James, where the internal investigation that the Pulte's agency does has shown that she should not be prosecuted. Her niece was supposedly living there. Now, one of the great things they have is that Pulte himself wrote to these investigators within his agency, find out how long the niece has been living there, get to the bottom of what happened with the niece. And that is this idea, now we're so used to it with Trump that, people appointed in an administration, they're hatchet men and hatchet women. They go after their enemies. They do it personally. We're so used to that, seeing Trump for this last year. These are all extraordinary. Somebody running an agency of that size, both Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, the billions of dollars, everything that gets involved with that they go personally after one person that's charged with mortgage fraud. So it's obvious that it's selective prosecution. It's obvious that he just wants to get her. And it looks like Pulte is just playing along with it and referring these people to get closer to Trump. So to make a long story short, these cases are all bogus. With the Congress members, the lenders know very well that the person is living on two coasts. If they're from California, like Schiff or Swalwell, that both of them are their residences. No one's giving them some huge break on their financing because, oh my goodness, I don't understand the situation. They explained it. Schiff's situation, he had lawyers explain it. He made sure the bank knew exactly what was going on. This Letitia James, by the way, if there was supposedly a difference in the interest rate over a 30-year loan, Mark, I think it's a few $1,000s. So here's Trump. It's been reliably reported that Trump and his family have made $3 billion and counting in the time he's been in office. And here they're investigating somebody who successfully brought a suit against him because of supposed $5,000. It just stinks. It so stinks. And all I can say is that when the Democrats get back into power, it's going to be all the self-control that they can show not to do this back. And why the Republican senators aren't stopping this, why no one in the Republican Party is stopping this, I think it must be that they think the Democrats are just too nice to ever do turnabout as fair play, that we're just too nice. We believe in the rule of law too much. And so they feel like what they're doing to Democrats, just because they're enemies of Trump, will never be done back to them.
It's true. And I think their appraisal of the Democrats, if it is that, is likely appropriate because Democrats just don't. They, in short, in 15 seconds or less, I would just say Democrats essentially believe in institutions of government and that government well run, and I'm not suggesting it is well run all the time, but government well run is associated with institutions worth maintaining and worth keeping the integrity around. And as we've seen, the Republicans in general essentially believe that they are flawed institutions, these institutions of government. They've been corrupted by those dirty Democrats, and we want to come in and, clean things up. And the irony of that is, of course, it's never been dirtier. You have this DOJ that has been turned loose in an orgy of recrimination. It is despicable and disgusting and grotesque and scary, honestly. And, you see it played out in the streets, David Katz, with the way that they've empowered these thugs to detain people, to arrest people, to go in with this heavy-handed theater of taking over America's cities. It's disgusting, and I worry about elections being the next chapter of that, seeing a way in which you can suppress the vote by bringing in these thugs to protect everybody in these cities that need protecting,
Well said, and just let me say that, the Democrats should always be the party of the rule of law, and I guess that's just one of the things that we have to live with in our history, that the Republicans, at least so far, in my with Trump is willing to do things that the Democrats are not willing to do back to Republicans, are not willing to do back, and that's great. It should always be like that, and you do want to be on the moral and intellectual high ground, and that certainly is not Trump, as you say. It's been so cheapened, and these raids not only are, of course, violating all of these people's rights, but it has such a bad economic impact on places like LA. I mean, you go around and, in the Latino areas, in some of the poorer working class areas, I mean, the streets are deserted. Restaurants are going out of business. All of that kind of economic impact. People wonder why the economy is in such terrible shape. Well, let's see. The big cities, a lot of the workers are scared to go out and go to their jobs. And then we have these tariffs that are raising the prices of everything. Why is Trump not doing well on the economy? It's like Econ 101.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned the effect on the economy, because I've been talking about it since these guys came to power. You can't pursue this kind of aggressive immigration policy strategy, and I use the words in quotes because it is so completely lacking any kind of righteous underpinning or even sensible underpinning. You can't pursue it as aggressively as they've pursued it. And of course, they've supercharged their budget, HHS and ICE. So you have more and more of these thugs, these quote agents doing this. But you can't do this, and you can't cull the agricultural fields, the slaughterhouses, the car washes, the hospitals, the centers of education. I mean, there's a lot in the world of education that's associated with those who are in this country in one way or another. And you've gone to the courts where they're actually appropriately showing up at the designated time of their adjudication for immigration processes, and you're arresting them there. It's an outrage. You can't do it without it having a hugely negative effect on the American economy, and that's what's going to happen. I love that you mention it. Thank you for letting me make that speech. Now, I'm going to, I've got to wrap up, David. I have stuff that I want to get to, Supreme Court stuff, but I think we got the major stuff in today, which is very, very important. I'll give you the last word, though. If you think there's anything at SCOTUS or if there's another case in the pipeline that you really wanted to get to today, I don't want to leave it aside.
Well, you had sent me something about the AI case, and the AI case is really fascinating. In the big ugly bill, they were trying to preempt the regulation of AI from the states and lodge it all in the federal government. And there was Republican infighting, and so the Republicans didn't push that in the big ugly bill. There were enough Republicans to join with Democrats. The Republicans are joining with them because they believe in states' rights. So if you're, let's say, Utah, a Republican state, you want to control what AI does in your state. You don't want to turn that all over to the federal government. The fear is that Trump wants to turn it over to the federal government and preempt the states' rules because, that's where the big money is. He's got all of those huge donors, and that's what means the world to the people who are developing AI, and they're willing to have their lobbyists and others spend really millions and millions of dollars. And the preemption is very important. If the federal government enters an area and preempts it, if they have comprehensive legislation about it, which is what they're hoping to have, then they argue that the states it's disruptive, there are too many cooks, and the states don't get to cook at all. And we have very important regulation of AI that's right here in California. And of course, I think that we ought to be able to control AI. I think this argument that there'll be too many cooks, first of all, most of the state regulations are similar to each other. So it's not that the AI companies will have too many cooks. It's that they'll have states that are actually looking over what they do, making sure you don't have a robot doctor, but a real doctor, making sure that all kinds of porn doesn't get disseminated in ways that it shouldn't because the federal government is being lax about it. And some states like California and like a conservative state like Utah would do more about it, to make sure that all sorts of other things aren't being done by AI. All the fears that people have about AI, the states are trying to rein it in. What would Trump and these Republican donors and lobbyists do? The fear is that, and of course it's being pushed by Senator Cruz, so that makes you even more. What an unholy alliance. Trump, Senator Cruz in charge of the Commerce Committee, and all of the super big boys who are developing AI. And of course, this has been a big, big deal whether the states can control or not. It looks like the states will have enough working together. There's 40 state attorneys general who are against this federal bill, this federal preemption, and yet there's fear that it's been just announced in the last day or two that there's an executive order that may be about to come down from Trump basically with the aim of moving in that direction and preempting the state laws that will rein in AI, the worst excesses of AI. And anyone who's out there and is scared about the excesses of AI, I think should be on the side of state regulations, California and other states being able to do something about it, and not having Trump, Senator Cruz, and the huge lobbyists preemption of the whole area where some federal law preempts and knocks out state regulation.
Well, Trump likes the AI-generated cartoons of him in a crown flying over the crowd on No King's Day and dropping poop all over them, and that's kind of the stuff he likes to do. He doesn't want to see it regulated in any way. And this would label things that might be mistaken for real. Generally speaking, states want the ability to, be able to put something on there, a watermark or some kind of legally compelled indication that this is AI. And the feds and Trump, of course, now through EO, as you said, this executive order, I've now learned EO is that's my little jargon, because he does it so much. Through the executive order, he wants to basically, of course, he's in the thrall of all these tech guys who have made him, as you suggested, billions of dollars through the crypto world. And also, again, just through AI, he just realized this huge, huge area of grift. He wants to abide by whatever they want, so he wants no restrictions whatsoever. So it's pretty awful,
I'm glad we had a chance to mention that because that's a big issue. I mean, that's a what did Biden say? That's a big effing deal. How we regulate AI.
Yeah. David, thank you for staying after class and giving us a little extra and. Look forward to our next visit. You can find David Katz on Thursdays with us. And Katzadamus, again, great record of predictions and forecasts. You are virtually unblemished, I think, in those forecasts. So love seeing you, man.
I may get blemished with the tariff decision. I want you to know that the Economist bot is still with you, Mark. They're still with you, thinking that the Supreme Court will cave into Trump and allow his tariffs to stay.
For those who are just joining us, David thinks or originally forecast that the Supreme Court will rule against Donald Trump and rule that the tariffs were illegally imposed. I said, of course, you're right from the standpoint of the law, but the Supreme Court, the concierge Supreme Court, will rule with Trump, and I think they'll allow the tariffs to proceed.
Did not go well. The oral argument did not go well for the Trump tariffs, and Gorsuch and the Chief Justice asked questions that made people think that the two of them will join the three moderates to liberals. Now, of course, Trump will find other ways to try to impose tariffs, but I really think that one, it was so beyond the power that he has. It was so not an emergency that I think that one's going to come out the right way and should come out fairly soon.
Yeah. So I hope you're right. I mean, I really do hope you're right. All right, David. Thank you. David Katz, everybody. Appreciate it, David. See you next time.
I've told you it's never easy being in this business.
The Mark Thompson Show.
I'm loving it, Albert. What do we have? Tell me. What do we have? I've got a couple of
I think we have a couple super chats.
Super chats. Let's see what the super chat world has brought us. The Super Chat Fairy has delivered us Richard Delamater. How about Richard Delamater? I wonder if Richard Delamater will be in the big hoedown, the holiday hoedown, Albert. Do you have the holiday hoedown details? Once again,
yeah, I had to fix that graphic, but it was a little...
It was a little janky, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The holiday hoedown was graced by Richard Delamater, who was sort of the Hunter S. Thompson of our... He had a bottle of Jim Beam in one hand and a bong in the other at the last meetup. Anyway,
he's the life of the party, absolutely.
He is the life of the party. Chaplain Fred with a $2 super chat. Mark, you sound like a televangelist. It's true. I do?
What?
I didn't realize that. But the last Angry Manny with a $2 super chat says, Prince MBS is kind of sort of like Prince MTS. Oh, I'd never thought of that.
Prince Mohammed ibn Salman ibn Abdulaziz Al Saud.
Yes, I am kind of like that. Bin. Very good. I have some Prince-like qualities. I'll concede that. Ask Katzadamus if he thinks his friend Adam Schiff. He addressed the Adam Schiff thing, actually.
He did talk about that.
He did, Phineas. He kind of touched on that. Ask David Katz if It makes a difference that California held an election about redistricting, and Texas legislature just passed the bill redrawing districts without statewide election first. Well, I mean, that was required here. We had to do that. We weren't allowed to just draw the redistricting the way we wanted to, type thing.
It's in the state constitution that
thank you.
Because voters decided that we needed to have a commission, that if we ever changed it, we would need to vote on that. So that's the law.
Here's the last word on the big hoedown. It's a holiday hoedown. We did not do a fall fundraiser, and we running on fumes. We're looking forward to a little bit of a fundraiser here, but this is not a huge money thing. It's just really a chance to kind of get together. But I mentioned that because we do charge for admission. Holiday Hoedown Throwdown is what it's called. December 1st. It's a Monday, 6 p.m. Pacific time, 9 p.m. for my pals on the East Coast. Come join us. Bring your own holiday cheer. We will bring everything else. The Holiday Hoedown Throwdown can be joined this way. A $50 donation via PayPal. Note on the PayPal donation, and then there are links to PayPal under this video and all other videos. Also from our website, themarkthompsonshow.com. Note with that $50 donation, HH for Holiday Hoedown or Holiday or Throwdown. You can say so many things. Choose the way you want to indicate it, but do indicate it to us. And then, after you've done that, send an email to confirm that you've done that. Send it to mtsmeetup@gmail.com. mtsmeetup@gmail.com. It is a 2-hour, wall-to-wall holiday hoedown, throwdown event. You must be part of it. I think it may be, potentially, our best meetup ever. We've been on the air for 3 years. We came out of the ashes of a radio station called KGO, very big station. We brought everybody from the radio over here, and it's been a really exciting project. But one of the things we've had to do is, deal with fundraising and deal with ways, a lot of expenses that we didn't have before. But one of the good things that's happened is that we've met the community of supporters that we have, and this is a chance to really interact with our supporters in ways that we don't get to do on a daily basis. So 2 hours of hoeing down, $50 donation to PayPal, note HH, meetup@gmail.com. We will see you on the 1st of December. What a great way to kick off the holiday season, Albert. I'm excited.
Thompson Show.
Yes, thank you very, very much. Well, if anybody has any outstanding news, I will. I'll take it now, but otherwise, we must move on. Albert, do you have anything? Kim, do you have anything? And so I can tell when nobody has it.
I haven't worked a show with Mark Thompson in a while, so it's nice to be back.
Yeah, I hope so. I'm calling you out more than the other fill-in hosts probably did. I'm calling your name. I'm putting you to work more than I would.
Prince Mohammed ibn Salman ibn Abdulaziz Al Saud.
Yeah, I'm calling your name a little bit better than that lady did, MBS. But
that's all, folks.
Yeah. There was a little yabba dabba do in there. You're right about that.
Prince Mohammed ibn Salman ibn Abdulaziz Al Saud.
All right, tomorrow on the show, it's our Friday show. The Culture Blaster Michael Snyder comes back. We talk about movies. We get Michael Schur, and Mo Kelly is back to talk politics. Mo, thank you again for jumping in, responding to the bat beam. That and more, and we leave you with the great Shadoe Stevens.
I'm Shadoe Stevens for the Mark Thompson Show. Bye-bye.
Kim's doing After Party over on the After Party channel.
Out of time. Bye-bye.
We're out of time. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.